everyone. Welcome to my edition of the BJ Footy Show for round 21. I am Aidan Barry, your host for this episode, and the round has just finished. Fremantle and Carlton has just gone final as I am recording this. We will get to that at the end of the round. We are going to start, as always, on the Thursday night. As usual, our Thursday night game this week was Western Bulldogs versus GWS. This one was very, very one-sided, very much from the beginning. Early doors, Bulldogs just took over. GWS never in the contest. Quarter time, 6 goals, 5 to 1 goal 2. Another 6 goals in the second quarter for the Doggies. GWS only scored 2 there. So already, including behinds, already a 10-goal lead at halftime for Western Bulldogs. And then just pretty much more of the same in the second. 4 goals in the third quarter for Western Bulldogs, and then 3 for GWS, 3 in the final quarter for Western Bulldogs, and no goals, only 2 points in the final quarter for GWS. So this is a big one. This does shake the ladder up a little bit. We'll get to that later on, but the Bulldogs, most importantly, have now got a bit more percentage. GWS's percentage also gets blown apart by this. Bulldogs still have a slim hope of qualifying for finals with destiny in their own hands, but as I said, it is a slim hope. GWS should be disappointed by this, even without Toby Green. You know, this is not a performance expected of a team who are looking at finals and thinking that they are going to be in finals, because now GWS, if we have a look at the ladder now, they are the team on the bubble. They are on 52 points, 111.3%, and the Doggies only now need a game. They are over 26 percentage points clear on that manner as well. So Doggies win, another GWS loss. Doggies win would see GWS fall out and put Hawthorn on the bubble there. On GWS, so I heard someone say that they weren't at the races. That's wrong. That is wrong. GWS were at the races. They weren't at the footy, and that's how we get to this position for them. I don't know how this happened. You know, you're playing for finals. You've got to be on your game, even with your best players out, but they're just not there. Doggies know what they have to do. They do their job expertly. They get the win. Not really much here that can be said negatively for the Doggies as they move on towards probably punching their ticket, or at least a step closer to punching their ticket to September. Now we're going to have a look at the player of the game and any triple doubles that there is. So the triple double, we have a triple double from this game. It's Lockie Ash from GWS, 36 touches, 25 kicks, 11 handballs, 12 marks. My player of the game will be from Western Bulldogs. It will be Aaron Nawson, 113 AFL Fantasy, 5 goals, 20 touches, 12 kicks, 8 handballs, 8 marks, 1 tackle, and 1 hit out as well for Aaron Norton. Jump to the Adelaide Oval for Friday night football between Adelaide and Hawthorn. And this one, I was very, very worried for the Crows at the beginning. Hawthorn come out of the blocks really strong with a 5-goal-to-1 opening quarter, but then it all changed for Adelaide. Hawthorn blanked in the second quarter. No goals, no points for Hawthorn. Adelaide going 6-6 in that second quarter. Definitely could have been more, but that trend continued into the second half. All scoring at one end. Adelaide with 2 goals in the third. Hawthorn adding 6 back in the third. Then in the final quarter, Adelaide with 6 of their own to Hawthorn's 2 goals. So all scoring was at one end of the ground all night, and that really proved to be the difference. All scoring down at that cathedral end of Adelaide Oval. Hawthorn now, that loss really puts them in a little bit of jeopardy for qualifying for finals. They are 7th at the moment with the loss. Adelaide with the win and results going their way elsewhere finished the round on top of the table. So Adelaide with a big win and some big games coming up. Adelaide looking to hold that minor premiership place. My player of the game here in this one from Adelaide is Jordan Dawson, 125 AFL Fantasy, 2 goals, 21 touches, 12 kicks, 9 handballs, 4 marks, and 12 tackles. We will check for triple doubles, and there was none in this game. So Adelaide now with that big win played a really good game, knew the wind was going in one direction, didn't panic in the start of the second quarter, took the game back to their hands. Hawthorn really let it slip, although as I said, it was a one-way game, but Hawthorn should have probably closed this game out a bit better when they had opportunities to put the game away. I mean, elite AFL footballers should be able to play 2 modes of footy. They should know that, long bombs at one end is what's effective. Short, deliberate passing at the other end is what's needed. Neither team really did that, and that's how we get all the scoring at one end. But Adelaide, with the win, they go to top of the pile. Time to go to the Saturday football now for this round. There are 4 games this week. We have, first of all, Melbourne versus West Coast, and this one was really, really one-sided, much like some of the other games we're going to see this round, much like Western Bulldogs versus GWS, as well as we've already discussed from the Thursday night. Melbourne coming out here, just absolutely dominating West Coast. Much, much better performance across the board from Melbourne, especially in these close moments when the game started. That was it. Then it was all Melbourne. But much more composed Melbourne, never really looking like letting West Coast back into the game. Never really should have let West Coast back into the game at any time at all. Game really cruised in the second half. So Melbourne played that brilliant third quarter. 10 goals in the quarter. A lot of scoring in that third quarter. 10 goals for Melbourne, 3 goals for West Coast in that third quarter. So a very, very big quarter there for both sides. That it was one of the biggest quarter of the game. Melbourne in this one winning by 83 points. Our final scores here: Melbourne 12-13, 39. West Coast 8-8, 56. Much better from Melbourne. West Coast still not quite there. They are quite dangerous at times. Not to others, but to themselves. West Coast, unfortunately, can't seem to get off of one win. They have 3 more opportunities to get wins for the year, or it just will be the singular one win. There are some moments where I think West Coast, though, do turn a corner, and then there are some moments where I think they just take a straight U-turn and they go backwards as well, which is unfortunate. They've got a good young list. They've got Harley Reid. They need to do something with him. He is not performing to the level I think that he's capable of as an individual, and I think also being at West Coast isn't helping him either, but he needs to step up as an individual to help them out. Player of the game here in this one, Melbourne versus West Coast, we go to Max Gawn and Christian Salem. They are my 2 players of the game in this one. Max Gawn, 113 AFL fantasy, 1 goal, 21 touches, 8 kicks, 13 handballs, 8 marks, 1 tackle, 29 hitouts. Christian Salem, also 113 AFL fantasy, 30 touches, 26 kicks, 12 handballs, 9 marks, 2 tackles for Christian Salem. Check if there are any triple doubles to be put down, and there is none in this game. Now we move to another blowout. Unfortunately, it was blowouts galore this week, this Saturday, especially in the afternoon. We go to Gold Coast versus Richmond, and we go to what was a very, very dreadful performance from Richmond. Final scores in this one: Gold Coast 16-11, 107. Richmond 2-11, 23. Gold Coast win in the first quarter. Gold Coast in the first quarter 4-1, 26 beats Richmond at do not need to play. Gold Coast could have just stopped scoring at quarter time, not tried to score ever again, and still won that game. And that is very, very unfortunate for Richmond. That all that hard work sort of come undone in the last couple of weeks. Couple of blowouts, couple of scores. They've had some very good moments the last month or so, but now it's got to just come undone. And we could just see it maybe a little bit towards the end of the Collingwood game, but this was a whole new level of low for Richmond. Gold Coast, a genuine top 6 article, getting the win here. No complacency, no remorse from Gold Coast, and they win this one quite comfortably. Not really much reason to stick around at many of these games. Player of the game for Gold Coast versus Richmond is Noah Anderson. Anderson, 123 AFL fantasy, 38 touches, 19 kicks, 19 handballs, 5 marks, 4 tackles. And just confirming to see if there was any triple doubles, and there was 1 triple double in this game. Mac Andrew, 103 AFL fantasy for Mac Andrew, 1 goal, 24 touches, 14 kicks, 10 handballs, 11 marks for the big defender for Gold Coast. We now move to the SCG in Sydney for Sydney versus Essendon. And this one was one that I think a lot of people skipped over. I did as well. And really, at the end of the day, it wasn't a great contest. Sydney winning by 14 points, 9-14, 68 to 7-12, 54 in at home at the SCG. Swans putting on that performance over the Bombers. And it's one of these games where both these teams are out of contention. Sydney probably win just because they're the better side. They played a good game. They beat Essendon okay. Essendon's got so many out. They debuted another player this week, so I think there's up to 14 now for the Bombers this year. But there's not really much to be said. Sydney just sort of riding the ship for next year at this point of the year. Essendon, I think that they're going back down. I think that they're going to be a bottom 4 team for the next couple of years, coming from this year and into 2026, 2027, possibly even 2028. This current list just hasn't worked for him. Even if he doesn't ask for a trade, I'd be actively trading Merritt away, saying, look, mate, we are going to be, essentially tanking at this point because we need to refresh the list, and thank you for your service. We want you to play elsewhere. We want you to contend for a premiership. You've done so well for us that, it is only morally right that we allow you to go contend for a premiership. So that would be my key move for Essendon in the off-season. But this game, it was on Saturday. It happened. It's over. We can move on from this one. Player of the game for this one goes to Brodie Grundy, 150 AFL fantasy, 39 touches, 11 kicks, 28 hand passes, 8 marks, 1 tackle, 32 headouts for the Sydney Ruckman. I'm just confirming if there are any triple doubles in this game. There are none. Now we move to the big game on the night of Saturday football that allowed us to have this game, thankfully, as a standalone contest. Collingwood versus Brisbane at the MCG. This was going to be one of the big games this round, alongside of Adelaide versus Hawthorn, and it was actually Brisbane who won in the end by 27 points. Final scores: Collingwood 10-5, 65, Brisbane 14-8, 92. So both teams with positive score differentials, just Brisbane again more shots on goal. So even if we extrapolate Collingwood's, I think that they are going to be a very close game, but Brisbane just those more shots on goal in the end, giving them a 27-point win over the Pies. Brisbane helping Adelaide retain top spot on the ladder, and also means now Brisbane closed to a half game on Collingwood. This was a game that played a big hand in the top shaping of the top 4, shaping of the top 8 come the end of the year. We will get to the ladder after we go through all the games here this round and preview next round as well. But Lions definitely are a genuine team. Crows are definitely a genuine team. I think Collingwood is still a genuine team, and I think Geelong might be in that mix as well, and maybe also Fremantle and Gold Coast would be my 6 top teams this year. Collingwood will go through this game. Brisbane, first quarter, very well played. Collingwood come back in the second quarter. Then all the second half, it just goes away from Collingwood, and Brisbane just ever so slowly builds that lead over the second half, getting the win in this one for the Lion faithful in the grand final replay. My player of the game for this match is Hugh McCluggage of Brisbane, 119 AFL fantasy, 34 touches, 18 kicks, 16 handballs, 3 marks and 7 tackles. And I will confirm if there are any triple doubles this game, and there are none. I was hoping for a much better contest in the second half from these sides. Brisbane, though, all round a much better side than Collingwood on the night, and those nights can happen. So well done to Brisbane. Unfortunately, Collingwood, you do lose top spot. You played a pretty much near perfect season, but you now lose top spot to the rampant red hot Adelaide Crows. We now jump into the Sunday action, and we start our Sunday action of the round with St Kilda versus North Melbourne from Marvel. So St Kilda back at the place where the magic happened last week against Melbourne. They do hold on against North Melbourne as North were closing in that final quarter. Final scores in this one: St Kilda 11-12, 78, North Melbourne 10-9, 69. St Kilda your winners by 9 points. North Melbourne, though, started very good in that first quarter, especially first quarter and opening part of the second quarter, before St Kilda just back into the second quarter, start of the third quarter, took control, took the game into their hands. Leads were never that big. It was always swinging around 3 goals, all between, a goal, 2 goals, 3 goals all game. Biggest lead of the game was 3-quarter time lead for St Kilda, and then North Melbourne do come back in that final quarter. St Kilda 1 goal, 1 in the final quarter. North Melbourne 3 goals, 3, just not enough to take down St Kilda in this one. But a much better effort from North Melbourne this week, and this is what they can do when they put their mind to it. They can go and be competitive in games. I think that North Melbourne right now, as they close out the year, just look to be competitive. I don't expect you to win anything, but be competitive. End the season on a high night for your supporters. St Kilda, another week, another win for them. They're season. Again, their season's over as well. They're down in 14th. At the same token, it's always nice to just go out on a winning form. So St Kilda, North Melbourne, both looking to just go out on winning form and not just have total utter disasters in the final 3 weeks of the season. Player of the game in this one from St Kilda is Nasiah Wanganeen Malera, 108 AFL fantasy, 36 touches, 24 kicks, 12 handballs, 3 marks and 1 tackle. We'll have a look for any triple doubles. Nothing to show on that regard for this one. Now we come to another absolute car wreck at Cardinia Park. Geelong absolutely handling and belting the life out of a disappointing Port Adelaide. Geelong 23-15, 153. Port Adelaide 9-11, 65. Geelong winning this one by 88 points. Not really much to see here. Geelong business as usual for them. Jeremy Cameron adding 6 more on his chase of a ton. Do I think he can get it in the final 3 weeks? He's on 75. He needs 25. He's going to need final to get that 100 goals. And in order to get that 100 goals, Geelong will probably have to go on a deep finals run. They are going to, if they keep form like this, they will get the double chance. They will probably need to also get a prelim at least, because that gives him 7 games for 25 goals at grand final. Sorry, that gives him 6 games now, 25 goals at grand final. With a qualifying final loss at grand final gives him 7 games to get that 25 goals. I think he can do it in 6. So Port Adelaide, very, very dismal, disappointing end of the year showdown. Showdown loss was bad. This one even worse. Two bad losses in a row for the Power. It's sad to see Ken Hinkley go out like this. It really is. I think that Ken Hinkley just doesn't deserve this. I think that as stubborn and as belligerent as Port was about all of this, I think based on where they were at their bye, they should have just said, thank you, Ken. Let Josh Hart have the reins for the second half. It wouldn't have been as bad. I mean, I feel bad for Ken at this point. This is not how a coach of his stature should go out. Okay, he never got over that final hurdle of making a grand final, but he's been at Port for so long now. He deserves so much better than this from the club, from the players. This is just an unacceptable standard for him to go out on, in my opinion. But Geelong, the much better side on the day. My player of the game in this one is going to be Max Holmes, who had 35 touches, 2 goals, 136 AFL fantasy, 25 kicks, 10 handballs, 7 marks, and 2 tackles. Check the marks column, check the tackles column. There is no one with a triple-double in this game either. So only a couple of triple-doubles so far this week. Now we move on to the final game of round 21, which is between Fremantle and Carlton. So Fremantle, slow out of the blocks in this one. Carlton 5 goals straight in the first quarter. Fremantle only 2 of their own. Carlton second quarter, again, very strong. 3-goal 1. Fremantle 2-goal 1. That's where it stops for Carlton, unfortunately. Carlton only able to kick 1 goal in each of the second half quarters. So third quarter, 1 goal, fourth quarter, 1 goal for Carlton. Fremantle running over them with an 11-goal second half. 4 in the third quarter and then 7 in the last to absolutely take the game away from Carlton in the end. Your final scores in this one: Fremantle 15-4, 94, Carlton 10-7, 27. 10-7, 67. Winning Fremantle winners here by 67. Both teams again positive score differential. Fremantle at the end, so showing much better class. And I think this is how Fremantle has to play. A very fast, very attacking brand of footy, where they also do blend their very well worked conservative ball movement, but with speed, it pays off in the end. 15-4. That's a pretty much a 3-to-1 ratio for Fremantle. Carlton 10-7 as well. Positive score differential, can't say much there. Unfortunately, Carlton right now just don't have the numbers to go with a top side like Fremantle at this stage of the season. So with that being said, this was a great win for Fremantle. Keeps them in the finals mix. They're pretty much guaranteed finals at this point, but they have percentage, they have decent percentage, they have 5th spot at the moment. So at the moment they would have a home elimination final. Can they close on that top 4? They're only outside of the 4 by a game, so anything can happen. Definitely could jump into that 4 as well for Fremantle. Player of the game for Fremantle versus Carlton, and it has to be Luke Jackson. 106 AFL fantasy, 1 goal, 27 touches, 7 kicks, 20 handballs, 1 mark and 5 tackles. It's confirming there are no triple doubles and there's none in Fremantle versus Carlton. So only a few triple doubles to have on the board this week. To look ahead to round 22, and then I will give you a full rundown of the top 8 and the permutations regarding finishing position. Thursday night, round 22, Hawthorn vs Collingwood. This is a very interesting game. Hawthorn playing okay. Collingwood also on a little bit of a skitter as well, so both teams having a slide, although I am going to take the Pies in this one. Collingwood to win by 4 goals. As it's the first game, there is your margin. Friday night, oh dear God, this is going to be an absolute car wreck. Geelong versus Essendon at Cardinia Park. Essendon, I can't even believe the betting lines in this one. Essendon are paying $21 for the win in this one. That is absolute car wreck country. Geelong by more than a country mile. Geelong by more than the distance between Adelaide and Melbourne. Geelong by more than the length and breadth of this country. That is how bad this one is going to get. Saturday we start with Richmond versus St Kilda. I think very close game here, although St Kilda just a little bit more on form at the moment. Richmond absolutely got blown out last week, so this one goes the way of St Kilda. Then we have Brisbane versus Sydney. This one, Brisbane, much better side at the moment. Sydney, they did have a win against Essendon, but as we saw the line for Essendon against Geelong, it doesn't really account for much, so I'm going to take Brisbane in this one. Carlton versus Gold Coast from Marvel Stadium. This one, I think, is going to be a much closer game than I think people are expecting, but it will be Gold Coast winning here. Now we have the Adelaide Oval game for this week on Saturday night. It's Port Adelaide versus Fremantle. Port Adelaide are probably going to put up a real good fight, or they are going to put up a real good fight, but Fremantle too strong in the end there in this one. So Fremantle over Port Adelaide on Saturday night in Adelaide Oval. Saturday we go to GWS versus North Melbourne. This one is from the Monica Oval in Canberra, and this one is, again, probably going to end up as a one-way traffic going to GWS. Now, this is probably, aside from Hawthorn Collingwood, this is probably the game of the round in terms of just how even these two sides are. It's Melbourne and Western Bulldogs. Western Bulldogs needing to win to keep destiny in their own hands in the final fortnight. Melbourne, very good. Couldn't close against St Kilda, but absolutely dominated West Coast last round. This one, though, due to circumstances of the Doggies' position, they will come out firing again and they will win this one. Then the Sunday late game for the round is West Coast versus Adelaide. And this is going to be Adelaide by a lot. They are playing for top spot. They are playing for the minor premiership. West Coast playing for 100,000 members, which I think right now is a very questionable number. But it will be Adelaide in this one by quite some way. Much better side here. So I'll go through these tips again and then we'll get on to the ladder. So Hawthorn versus Collingwood. Geelong versus Essendon, Geelong. Richmond versus St Kilda. Brisbane versus Sydney, Brisbane. Carlton versus Gold Coast, Port Adelaide versus Fremantle. GWS versus North Melbourne, GWS. Melbourne versus Western Bulldogs, West Coast versus Adelaide. Now we have a look to close out this episode with a look at the ladder. So Adelaide to win out. If Adelaide win out from here, they will have Collingwood in round 23, but they also have matches against West Coast and North Melbourne as well, I believe. So couple of easy games and Collingwood as well. So Adelaide look odds on for top 4. Collingwood as well should beat Hawthorn. Going to be a close one for against Adelaide. That one really will be the minor premiership game, I do believe. I think that Collingwood odds on for top 4 as well. Possibly top 2 for those two sides, although they do play each other, with Brisbane and Geelong closing. Brisbane half a game out with the draw they had over North Melbourne earlier in the year. Geelong's percentage is taking a big jump because of the win against Port Adelaide. It's going to take another big jump when they smash Essendon into the canvas on the weekend. So they will probably be in the mix unless anything goes dreadfully wrong there. I think the top 4 is pretty much signed, sealed, delivered. We now go into that second 4, and this is where it gets more interesting. Who gets the home elimination finals? Fremantle currently on 56 points in 5th place, but with no percentage, with the worst percentage aside from GWS in that top 8. So Fremantle, I see them they do beat Port Adelaide. They will be dangerous come the final 2 weeks of the year, although I just think that the way it is, they are most likely for a home elimination final, but they have the opportunity to also sneak into top 4 with games played between top 4 sides and other results could go in their favour. Currently in 6th, is Gold Coast on 52 points, although they have a game in hand, which is against, you guessed it, everyone's favourite whipping boys. Sorry, not West Coast, not Richmond, not North Melbourne, but Essendon. That game in hand will be played after round 24, so everything that they do up to this point, add on an extra win for them. They should have a home elimination final. That is the ceiling for Gold Coast. If not, they should be playing finals. I don't see them losing out with their run home. 7th is Hawthorn. Now, this is where things get a little bit dangerous. So, Hawthorn have Collingwood to play this week. They've been on a bit of a slider. A loss for them would see either with a win for GWS jumping them, a loss for Hawthorn and a win for Bulldogs sees Hawthorn jump out of the 8 after round 22, which is the most likely scenario. So Hawthorn is most likely to be outside the 8 or a bottom or a last 2 in position. As I said, they are most likely to finish outside the 8 at this point. GWS, with their draw, should hold. Bulldogs should also jump into the 8. I'm sorry, Hawthorn supporters. GWS, as I said, they should hold. I think they're going to scrape into that set to those away elimination final positions. Probably will finish 7th or 8th, most likely. I can't see them falling out of the 8 with their draw, but they will either be playing Fremantle or Gold Coast most likely, or there is the possibility of Brisbane or Geelong as well, because Brisbane also has a very poor percentage. And with that leaves Western Bulldogs. They will be the team jumping into the 8 at the end of the season. They should get in quite comfortably. They've got percentage over Hawthorn. They've got percentage over GWS. They don't have games over. They've played GWS. That's probably their toughest game in. They have Melbourne. Then they have West Coast. Then they have Fremantle in Melbourne. But I think that they could be signed, sealed, delivered by the time the Fremantle game rolls around, as Hawthorn have Collingwood, Melbourne and Brisbane as their final game. So they will be the one missing out on the 8. Sydney technically still in play with 3 games to go, but we need to get their percentage up quite a bit. They are on 95%, and with the Bulldogs looking to jump in on 137%, they need to jump 40 percentage points. So they would be the second out and the first team of a real gap on the table. So we'll recap the ladder. Adelaide, top 4. Collingwood, top 4. Brisbane, likely for top 4. Geelong, likely for top 4. Fremantle, likely for home elimination final, possible top 4. Gold Coast, home elimination final. Hawthorn, fall out. GWS, away elimination final. Western Bulldogs come in for Hawthorn and have an away elimination final. Although with their percentage and their games, who they're playing, it could easily be a home elimination final. We never know. So real attention will fall onto the last 2 in for this year. Here's my look at football for rounds 21, 22 and a preview of the ladder as we head into the final 3 weeks of the year. As always, I've been your host of this episode of the BJ Footy Show, Aidan Barry. Thank you very much for listening, and I'll see you next week.